Welcome to Brutally Anna, a podcast about finding love, losing love, and all the things we think about but don't talk about enough. I'm your host, Anna Kai, aka Maybe Both across social media, here to remind you that life can be beautiful even when it's freaking brutal. She's the queen of confidence, one of Forbes 30 under 30 top creators and the mastermind behind SFK. Serena fucking Kerrigan is living proof that who we are is defined not so much by what we are given, but what we create. I'm so excited to welcome Serena today to the podcast to talk about how she actually found her confidence because of and not in spite of her insecurities. Serena, thanks so much for being here.
What a beautiful intro. Thanks for having me, my queen.
I tried very hard. I was like, how do I describe the woman who has described herself so well time and time again? And I was like, you know what? This is what we're going to go with. You share so much of yourself and your alter ego online. One of the best things I remember reading about you is you were saying, I have a hard time being Serena Kerrigan. SFK is so natural to me now, and it's your alter ego, and it's what you created to deal with your insecurity. And you said this in an interview, I think, with your now boyfriend, and I'm just curious, in the last year, how have you put that into practice? Because that's your way of being vulnerable. It's like, hey, I'm not Serena fucking Kerrigan. I'm just Serena Kerrigan right now. How do you feel confident in just your skin? And also, do we have the pleasure of being joined by just Serena today?
Who do you want?
I want everyone.
I can be SFK or I can be Serena.
What's your actual middle name? Do you have one?
It's fucking.
I
I can be whichever you want me to be, but I can turn it on.
Maybe both. Hashtag maybe both.
Okay, here we go. Let's fucking go. I think that definitely, especially I just turned 30, I definitely feel like it's something that I can turn on and off. Like I can be SFK right now if you want me to be, or like I can be Serena and I'm comfortable being Serena. However, I think that like definitely feel more vulnerable being Serena, especially with posting online. Because before I could just post online and be like, well, that's a character. If you talk shit about her, who cares?
Right.
That's not really me. But now it's like I'm definitely more myself.
But don't you think people relate to you more? Like
Definitely.
love your confidence and everything online, but I think some of the things that I remember the most about your content is when you're being vulnerable, is when you're like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to crush it in XYZ, but I'm trying. Or, what we talked about is like, you're like, I'm super fucking burned out because this is a field where you are expected to come up with genius every day.
Which you do. I love your videos. Like I love the rhythm of them and how you tell stories. I think it's really fucking amazing. And the fact that you're also doing like a Get Ready With Me is crazy because like I cannot do two things at once.
I love that you were like, I think it was for your birthday, you were like, I wish I was. It was like you were holding a Makeup by Mario palette and you were like, I'm not a makeup artist. I wish I was. This black one, never touched it in my freaking life. And I was like, you wouldn't know because your makeup looks great.
Thank you. I really practice. I wrote it on my vision board. I was like, bitch, you were learning how to do your own makeup because we are done spending money on glam. Literally.
But you're like best friends with your makeup artist.
And then I'm such a fucking fuck. Like I literally I'm like, wow, you've saved me so much money on glam. She's like, I know. But like we have a good vibe. We have a good agreement. But like literally I was saying that to her yesterday. So crazy timing.
Have you picked up tips from her?
For sure. And I actually like did my own today. But like we love to hang out. We love to kiki. She loves doing it. We also like have a system where she does it literally in under 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Because like it's very, I'm not asking her for a full beat.
Right.
But yes, that it was one thing that I really wanted to like get better at is learning how to do my own makeup because that shit adds up.
Yeah, I've actually, I have the opposite problem than you. I almost never let anybody touch my face.
Right.
Because people like Asian faces, I've just had like horrible experiences with people just like not really understanding that my eyes are the same shape as yours. And like my skin, like the amount of like oranges. Thank you. But like my skin has like a yellow tint to it and a lot of foundations. I'm like, I look orange. It's just, so I have the opposite problem. So like now on photo shoots, not that I do a ton of them, it's like, okay, well, like the logical next step would be to hire a makeup artist and a hair person. And I'm like, don't touch me.
So it's so interesting you said that. I literally did a photo shoot the other week and first of all, it was a combination hair and makeup artist, which is fraudulent. There's no fucking way. There's no way that you are just as good at doing both. So that means you're mediocre at both. I'm sorry, it's fucking true. Yes. Like, just pick one and slay. Every single time it's been a woman who does both, it's like you're getting what you're paying for, which is not good. And it really like rocked like my confidence that day on on shoot.
Did you look at
And
yourself and you liked neither? You liked neither your hair nor your makeup.
Oh my God. I couldn't even. And also so slow. It was so painful. And it's like I was being shot like for a campaign, and like I'm gonna have to promote this, so I'm gonna have to like what I look like. It's just so I literally like went to the bathroom and I was like, you can do this. I literally was like, Serena fucking Kerrigan, you get in that fucking mirror.
Serena
and you do
was
your
not in the room.
No, Serena had left. She evaporated. She tried to be nice, and then I was just like, goodbye. And I fucking did my own makeup. And I was just like, I think I'm better under pressure for sure.
Good.
But I think back to just like what you're talking about with confidence, it's like, I don't know. You found me in 2020. Yeah. So I looked very different. I like had huge fucking eyelashes, like tarantulas on my face. Like I was obsessed with getting eyelashes. My hair was chopped bright blonde or like bleach blonde. And like, I just feel like I dressed a lot differently. I was very sexy, which like, let's fucking go. Like I was about to say I have great tits. They kind of like fall to the floor, like gravity-wise, but like they're slaying.
At least you have some
exactly.
tits. Because here's the thing, like
right. Grass is always greener. But they really do.
On me
they're mad at each other always. And then they're also like looking down. They're upset. They're angry. They're angry tits. But I felt like I dressed like, just very sexy, very promiscuous. And I really, and I loved getting glam. Like the opposite of you. I felt like if I didn't have a professional do it, then I wasn't beautiful. And I felt like if I didn't have my eyelashes, I wasn't beautiful. If I didn't have this like really crazy like blunt chop, like there was all these things that I needed to feel beautiful. And I think that with age, time, working on myself, tapping into this as of K persona, I was able to kind of like take this mask off. Like taking the eyelashes off, I don't think you understand like how much of like terrifying. Terrified.
Don't like, as somebody who was born with like no eyelashes, I get it. It's like, oh my God, like what do I look like without eyelashes on? And I think when you first start off in such a public space, you're very online. At 2020, you're like, you have nothing but time but to put on eyelashes.
No, I had it professionally done. And during the fucking pandemic, yes, lockdown, I managed to find a bitch to come over to my house and do it.
And you didn't get COVID.
Oh, I got COVID 4 times. But like, she's fine, we're good.
Your eyelashes are the reason you're immune to COVID.
Quite literally that.
But this is my first vaccine.
First of all, I was fueling the economy during COVID, okay? Everything was stopped. My poor lady, like she couldn't get any work. And I was like, you know what? We can make this work. I'm just going to cover my mouth. You do it too. But I was addicted. And I think that I remember my friends confronting me being like, you're going to take them off and it's going to be shitty for like a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months.
You're going to feel naked.
It's
like, it's like losing your phone.
And then I'm not going to lie. Like I look at women now and I'm like, damn, you look so much better without the eyelashes.
Yes.
Like it's hard to like see now. And listen, it was a thing of the time. And I think that like, I made a video making fun of myself about the lashes because guys, like, I think you should like toss to a clip. Honestly, I'm giving you like the rights to my content. Okay. Show everyone.
Right.
Just picture just like legit tarantulas on my eyes. I made a video like making fun of myself being like, oh my God, I can't believe I look like this. And my mom was actually like, who I'm really close with, she was like, I can't call her I was not allowed to call her my friend growing up. I don't know if you grew up in that same
Why?
vibe. Because it's a respect thing. Like, we're not friends.
Oh,
like, she's my mom.
Oh, no. My parents were like, we're your friends first and then your parents. And they were super chill. And like…
My mom was chill, but like, I think that was like the boundary, which is why I'm not like a Sephora, Gen Alpha nightmare.
Yeah.
So that was like the boundary that we had. So I don't go, but anyway, yes, she's my quote friend, right? Now that I'm grown up, I think we can be friends. Although not really. No, not really. She really lays down the law sometimes.
But that's an immigrant thing.
Very much
My parents are very atypical immigrants, but like for the most part, like my immigrant friends are like, there's a hierarchy in the house and mom is at the top.
As she should be. But it's just more like I'm an only child too. Like I needed the boundaries. Like I needed some level of routine and like rules.
Right.
Even though I broke all of them. I got arrested. Like I wasn't allowed to go to prom. Like I was totally a mess. But,
I did not.
But she did instill some rules.
Wait, you got arrested. I did not uncover this in my stalking of you.
Yeah, I was 16. That's why I was expunged. Back to my mom really quick. Okay. I made a video and I was like making fun of myself. And she was just like, she wrote me a beautiful text and she was just like, as much as like I get it, she was like, I feel like it's good for you to show your audience like I tried a different look. Like I experimented with my look and like I figured out that that's not what I like, but you shouldn't be ashamed of that because I think like we're taught to like be small and not try things and conform to what everyone else looks like. And she was like, I just feel like, the way that you talk about it, like you should encourage your audience to like, If they want to try eyelashes, if they want to try like cutting their hair, like they should do that. That's a form of self-expression and finding out who you are and your identity. And there's nothing wrong with evolving. And I like literally was gonna cry. I was like, I love you, like thanks. Like they were fucking heinous. And I spent so much money on those lashes. Goodbye.
But they were your tuition. I always say that. I think it's like, you know, you have to be who you're not in order to become who you're meant to be.
Amen.
And, you know, my love affair with eyelashes still continues. They have gotten smaller, I will say, over.
I was about to say beautiful, but they look so natural.
But they're fake. They're
not
fake as
extensions.
hell.
Do you put them on yourself?
I put them on myself.
That's the difference. It's the ones it's the professional ones.
I can't do the extensions. I did them for a little bit, and then I realized like I couldn't do my makeup the way I want. You have to like be very.
This is great.
Thank you.
This looks real.
But I will say it's like that point about you saying like you should not be afraid to experiment with who you are is like so powerful because I feel like we're taught. Like I remember, I don't know if you went to Duke, which is by the way out of left field after being a kid in New York City. I'm like so much
on
I want
purpose.
to ask.
I need to learn how to drive.
I'm sure. By the way, lots of my city friends do not know how to drive. I wouldn't. Again, the getaway car. What do you do in a situation like that? You
take an Uber,
ride sharing. Right. You know, I think for me, it was like I tried social media. I started in 2020 as well, but I started off as a home decor blogger, which is embarrassing when I look back.
Not embarrassing. Maybe being embarrassed is a choice.
Thank you. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm like, I looked back at my first.
You liked it.
I liked it and I was like trying it and then I was like, I can't fucking repaint this wall 8 million times. I was like, how do people do this?
Would men do that? Would men be like, I tried this out. Oh, so embarrassing. Like men would never fucking say that.
No, it's true. But when do men reinvent themselves? Sorry. When do don't.
Do you remember who our president was? He used to be on a reality show. Okay, let's be fucking for real. They reinvent themselves all the time, but they don't feel embarrassed about that. You know
That's
what I mean?
True. That is very true.
I think there is more of a pressure of women to reinvent themselves, especially like in the music industry.
I think women are taught basically that we constantly have to be keeping up with the times, whereas men, they're like allowed to exist on so many levels.
Yeah.
So you figured out in the last year, you're like, I'm good being Serena and SFK. And you've also said that we're all born with confidence, right? It's just that we're infected with society's pressures as we grow up, which is like such a great way to describe it. And you gave birth to SFK when you went to Duke. Was that the line in the sand for you? Because you grew up in New York City. I don't know what growing up in this city is like, but I feel like that's going to be a very, very different experience than plopping yourself in the middle of North Carolina and just kind of, no, not really.
No, it's all rich people. Like literally.
It's all the same people at the
end
of the
It's all the people
day.
from the Northeast that want to like have a Southern experience.
But were you confident before you went to Duke? And did Duke kind of take that down a couple notches? Or were you always – because I know where like my insecurities came from, right? I can kind of draw a line in the sand at where it was. I grew up in an affluent area but not rich at all. So like my parents moved us into like a rental apartment in a nice part of town so that I could go to the nice schools. But I remember being 3 or 4 and I would play with all the kids in the apartments. We were all the same and we all had parents that were immigrants and like I didn't feel different. It was just fun. And then I went to school and realized like people have so much more than me. You know, were you like, hey, I'm chilling. I live in New York City. Upper West Side is my bitch. And then you go to Duke and you're like, holy shit, I'm not making out with a lacrosse player.
I mean, yeah, that. But also, well, I just think that there's this idea that like you're either confident or insecure. And I think it like comes in waves. And I think that there's certain things that are triggers. I think like there was things in my household that I grew up with that definitely took a toll on my confidence.
Well, your parents are divorced.
Yeah.
So that I'm
yeah, but for sure. Like there was certain things that were said to me growing up that definitely took a toll and led me to like really want validation from men. And so when I wasn't getting that triggered me even more. So when I go to a place like Duke where a lot of people are, and then yes, the affluent thing was 100%. I remember like in high school and in college, every summer, everyone would go to their house in the Hamptons. And it was like, I felt very much like not very welcomed. Like I would be invited, but it would always be last minute. And so then it's like Memorial Day weekend or Labor Day or like
you're like the substitute invite.
Right. Yeah. Like it's just like, well, damn, okay. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna be no, but literally,
no, but I get it.
It was like, just, I didn't know how to navigate that. And I remember being in the car once. And also, even when I was at my friends' houses, it was like their parents' house. So then I'm like you're not entirely, you don't feel entirely like it's your home. It's not.
No.
Right? So like
There's no ownership of the space.
Right.
And now you don't even have parents who have a similar house, whereas I think if you did.
I didn't have a country house. I didn't have like a Hamptons house, right? Like, and my parents too, like they'd send me to private school, and I remember just being like around literally like kids of the richest people in the United States. Like, we're in New York City, duh. Like, so I remember being in the car in the Hamptons once when I was in high school, and I was like, I'm like, my daughter's never gonna feel this way. Like, I'm gonna have a house so she can have her friends and she can feel like she belongs. And it's interesting because as I've gotten older, I don't even know if I want that for myself anymore, because it's such a like, it's the Hamptons and it's changed a lot and it's very, very bougie. And I don't know if it aligns with my values anymore. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how rich I fucking become, bitch, because I will be. But yes, I think that there are a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are said to you and a lot of different factors at play. And I just remember when I came to Duke, I was just, it wasn't that it was the line in the sand. It was more just like, this was like this opportunity to reinvent myself. And I was like, I gotta take it. Like, this is a perfect
Nobody
time.
knows who you are.
No one knows who I am. So I'm just gonna call myself Serena fucking Kerrigan. And I liked this. It was very intimidating to like be with all this new student body and like all these boys. Like, it was just like intimidating. And so I was like, oh, if I'm this larger than life character, then like I'm chilling. And it totally worked. But this was like over 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of it's evolved. And then I was able to really monetize it, turn it into a brand. Because I think that like we all have these moments where we're feeling imposter syndrome or we're scared or we're feeling insecure. And we just need to be like, no, bitch, like you fucking got this. And that's essentially what SFK was for me.
So how did it look when you first like, do you remember the date that you were like, I'm Serena fucking Kerrigan, and like what you did that day around campus?
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was like at night, we were pre-gaming for a party, and like I was with all my friends in the freshman dorm, and I'm like, I'm Serena fucking Kerrigan. And they loved it. They like ate that shit up, my friends at the time. And then like I would tell upperclassmen, and they're like, no way, like you changed it legally. And I was like, you got into Duke? I was like, no, I'm just kidding. But I was just like, yeah, for sure. And then like it got to people, at first people didn't like it, then they loved it. Like, I don't fucking know. It was a million years ago. But for me, it's like, I intuitively knew that this was the move, even if I got pushed back. And I did. Like, I don't think my parents were just like, what? Like, now it seems kind of weird to say. But back then, like, you know, a lot of people have said, like, you're never going to get hired for a job. You're never going to work with brands. Like, you know, you're never going to get a boyfriend. Like, you're not going to get into a sorority. Like, all those things happened to me. But people were really uncomfortable by me saying I'm Serena fucking Kerrigan. And I don't just think it's because of the fucking. I think it was because it's like a confident woman making noise. And I think our society is really conditioned and programmed to like, look, they're comfortable with someone who's palatable and safe. And my content has never been like that.
You know, taking it back to the Hamptons comment, you were like, oh, you know, when I was growing up, I was like, my daughter's never gonna, you know, I'm gonna make so much money that I'm gonna have the biggest Hamptons house. And now I don't even know if I want that. And it's like, in some way, I feel like what you've created through SFK and just making noise is that you've created something better than fitting in. It's standing out.
Fully 100% and that's the thing. And like I've asked myself, like even with the content stuff, I'm just like, oh, like should I do this? Should I do a get ready with me? It's like I can't do it. Like I really wish I could. Like I can't. Like there's something about me that I physically like can't do two things.
But you're like the pre-get ready with me era.
Fully, I just like yelled at you in front of the camera. Like there was never an activity. It was like, bitch, pay attention. And I wanted to try vlogs. I tried all these things and it just didn't feel native to me. And I realized like whenever I've just done my own thing, I wanted to start a podcast. I tried to start like SFK TV, which was like basically like a video first podcast. And I just like, it just doesn't feel organic. And so I realized I was like, every time I just have to listen to my intuition and just do the thing that goes against the grain. But it's annoying because like sometimes I'm like, why can't I just like be normal? You know, but I feel like I'm very untraditional in a lot of ways.
But that's why you're SFK.
Right.
And the other thing is it's a blessing and a curse being you, because obviously you have all these opportunities available to you. You've created so much that has been successful, and I think so much that you are proud of.
Right.
But it's like everyone in the industry is always looking to you like, where's the podcast?
Totally.
Where's the YouTube channel with 3 million subscribers? Why aren't you on Snapchat? Why aren't you on Twitch?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You know, and it's just like, guys, I can't get on one more fucking platform. You know, it's like, I just want to do what I want to do. And I think what it is at the end of the day, you are a filmmaker. That's what you really set out to do. You set out to tell stories. Your first story was just your story and the story of you dating, and that's how you, and so you're just bringing it back to that.
Oh, love.
And
love.
if podcasting is not your thing, it's like there are so many things that people have like thrown in my court over the last year and a half that I've been in the public conscious. And like, I know that maybe I could be good at this and I could be, I mean, beyond that, it's like stuff that it's like, oh, do you want to create a course or what? I'm like, no, I don't. I really don't want to create it. I'm like, really I don't. Hard. I'm like, I don't want to create a course and I'm not a therapist. And, I give, what was unsolicited advice in the beginning because nobody was asking me for it. It's like those memes that I love. It's like, those influencers. So like so many of you have been asking me.
No one's asked you.
No one was asking
same.
me.
Are you kidding me? Literally same. No one was asking.
No one was asking. I was just trying to save myself, right?
Too bad. Exact 100%. And a lot of the advice that I gave, it was just advice to me. Like I make content for me. And I realized like I'm fatigued of the content. Like that's always a thing. The through line is like whether I create a product like the card game or like a smoothie with Joe and the Juice or a piece of content or anything that I'm creating and making, like it's literally for me. Would I want to watch that, consume that? Would I like that? Would I buy that? And if I can't say yes, I won't.
Well, it's either a fuck yes or a fuck no.
100%.
Right.
It always goes back to that. So it's just about like being authentically you. It's just sometimes I'm uncomfortable because I'm like, oh my God, like I feel intuitively like I'm supposed to be doing something else. And I am doing something else. But like writing a movie is the least instant gratification. No likes, no shares. I feel like I'm not creating as much because I'm trying to write. So then you're like not
it's a very private process.
Fully. And
you're a very public person.
Right. So then it's like, okay. And so it's a long game.
Right.
But it's like, and then I'm still trying to play the short game in the meantime and but it has to be something where I'm giving it my all. And it's like, in order to like enter this new era, I have to let go of the old one to some degree. Right. Still my day job and it's still what pays me. But like, that's very scary to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. I am sacrificing
you don't know.
Because you don't know.
When I had 87 followers, right, which was what I started off with like a year and a half ago, I was like, I didn't even dream of 1 million followers. Right. I was like, if I had 1 million followers, like I will do whatever the fuck it is I want to do. I'll be successful in everything. And you get to the point and you're like, nothing, the next project is not guaranteed. Like you're not guaranteed success in the movie. I'm not guaranteed success in the podcast just because we were successful on another platform. Totally. And I think the scariest thing for me, and I don't know if this is the same for you, is that like I'm like, well, before when I was failing, like nobody knew besides my friends and family. And now I'm like, oh, there's like a public platform that would see that like, oh, my podcast isn't charting or like, but in some ways it's almost good. Like to me, it's so inspirational that you tried, SFK TV, you tried a bunch of things that like you just didn't stick with. And I think we're so taught, like I think, yes, you shouldn't quit and like you should stick with what you want to do. But like I think there needs to be more dialogue around quitting what is not for you so you can make space for the things that are for you. And you are perfect. I remember SFK TV and I was like, oh yeah.
And it was epic. And I got everything I needed out of it. Like I don't see it as a quitting. I think it was just like, it evolved. I pushed it literally towards a Substack, which I love because it's more writing. It's in more in tandem of what I'm doing. I just felt like producing an hour, 20-minute episode, but you know how long it takes to do that, like hours. Insane. Every week just like didn't feel good. And I'm like, I focus on feeling good. Like I really do. And I have a super successful card game business and I do incredible branding content and I love doing that stuff. But yeah, like I feel like we live on this planet for a very short amount of time. Like I want to do a lot of different things. Like I want to try a lot of different things. And but then of course there's the jack of all trades, master of none conversation. But I think it's what you said. It's like at the core of who I am, I'm a storyteller. So whether I'm telling a story about a card game, a smoothie, for any brand, for myself, a movie, content, like that is the through line. And that's what I just want to get better and better and better at. And that's like truly at the core of my craft.
And I think that's what sets you apart because I look at your content and yes, of course you do the selfie where you're talking and you're yelling at us, which I love, but it's like your other content is so well produced. It's like, I'm like, what camera is she using? What's this lighting setup? I don't remember seeing that ever, and in a world where everything is instant gratification, especially I think with the advent of TikTok, things are so much less aesthetic now.
Fully.
Which is great in a way for people like me that have never learned how to use a freaking DSLR camera. I'm like, I'm just not going to. Like,
no, it's democratized. And I think that's good. And I think you should only need, a phone to make amazing content. However, like I've always done highly produced content. Like I started making movies when I was 15. Like this is always what I've done and I love doing it. And so that's my thing. And it's about getting better and better and better. And so like I'm in meetings now where they're like, what are your dreams? And I'm like, to direct a Super Bowl commercial. So what's it gonna be?
That's
and
awesome.
I'm like, the more, because that to me is the goal of doing like the branded and I love it. So
you kind of want to be more behind the camera?
Yeah.
long-term?
Well, I mean, in my branded content, I'm in front, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that ultimately, like, I think it's just really badass.
Female directors, I mean.
Like Greta Gerwig, like
Yes.
Sofia Coppola, like it's just badass to just, you know, tell a story. And that's how I really started. Like I didn't act in my own movies. Like I don't, you know, that's just how I started. So that's kind of where I want to go.
Or you could do it all.
Or
right?
I could do it all. I mean, of course I'm down for a little cameo, but it's interesting. Like I don't, and I was asked this because I've been writing something and I just kind of like had meetings in LA and I was talking to a lot of executives about it. And they asked me like, do you want to act in the movie? And I said, you know, I don't have any imposter syndrome really about directing or writing. It's writing a little bit sometimes because it's so fucking hard. But like then I get over it. I'm like, I can fucking do this. But directing, definitely not. Like I know I can direct anything. But when it comes to acting, I'm like, I don't think I'm the best for this role. And I want my movie to be the best. So I want to actually cast someone who's literally committed to their craft and is real like actress versus wanting the fame and like wanting to be on camera and like the attention on me.
Well, it's kind of like the makeup and hair thing. It's like if you do both, you're good at neither.
No, and by the way, there are amazing people. Like there are amazing people that direct themselves and that are there in their own content for sure. And I think you can do both. For a first-time filmmaker, like why would I do that to myself? Because it's so overwhelming. But moreover, like Lena Dunham did that, right? Like she did a beautiful job at that. But I
or
just
Don't Worry, Darling. You know,
right?
It's like
Exactly. But
I love that movie.
yeah, no, I mean it's been done. It's amazing. But I think it's just like I'm just being honest, and I want to tell an amazing story the best way I can. I'm like,
And you don't feel like you're the
I'm not
person
acting.
to act
Also,
in
I
it.
aged out of the role that I'm writing for. I'm like, I'm not. It's not me. But I
It's
could
great
definitely
that
have a
you
little
could be-
cameo. I could be the Uber driver, even though I can't drive. Fuck. Okay,
Wait.
we'll be the barista.
Wait, you can't drive even though you went to Duke and you were
I
like,
have a
I needed
license,
to-
but like when you don't want me on the road, okay? Like nobody does. I'm just being honest. We all know our strengths. It's interesting that you talked about like strengths and what you're good at and leaving room for that because my mom and I were talking about this and she was just like, I think when you're younger, you're told to follow your dreams. And while I think you should dream big and listen, bitch, I've checked it all fucking off. Again, I will continue to do that. You have to also lean into your strengths. Like right now, if I said to you,
yes.
I'm going to become a truck driver, you'd be like, but like we just said that you're not going to good driver. I mean, you could probably get good at driving, but it's like, I think you dream big, but I know like at the core, I'm really great at storytelling. So I'm just going to lean into that and dream from there.
I always think about what my parents or what my life would be like if my parents had forced me to go the traditional Asian kid route.
Right.
I am terrible at math. Like when I say I cannot do tip,
Yeah.
like I know people have told me like, oh, it's like
Fine.
you add 2 for every tip.
That's what Google's for. AI. It's good.
There's a calculator on my phone. Like I literally can just calculate
ChatGPT, done.
Right. And so it's like, for me, I never was good at math. I was a decent student. I wasn't an amazing student. You know, being a doctor wasn't in the cards for me. Like being a lawyer just seemed stressful to me because you're basically always like, you know, in people's like worst moments. I was like, you know, I don't know how to handle that. And so my parents were basically just like, you freaking let your freak flag fly. You know, my dad, he's like, you know, I think you should approach rearing children the way you look at a weed in your garden. Just let it grow whichever the way it wants to.
I'm obsessed with that energy.
I was like, be the weed, right? Be the freaking dandelion and let your little like buds fly all over, right? And so it's like, because he's like, if I had forced you into finance, you know, because at NYU, because we're in Manhattan, as I'm sure you know, it's like, first of all, I didn't know what investment banking was until I was like 20 because in Pennsylvania where I grew up, a banker is a teller at like a Wells
Why
Fargo.
would you? Yeah, all my friends did IB after Duke. Like all of them went in. And by the way,
Everybody.
they all have left. They all have left and like started their own company, done their own business or in something creative. Like it's just
That's so funny. All of my friends stayed.
stayed.
And they've climbed the ladder and they're like
they
empty.
happy?
Yeah, they're happy. But like
Interesting.
they're personalities are suited for that. You know, those friends look at me and they're like, how the hell do you create shit every day?
Totally.
And I'm like, I'm medicated. So
obsessed. 100%.
I'm like, dream partnership, Zoloft.
Yes. Speak it out into the ether, baby. You got this. I agree. My parents were very similar. They were like, you need to do what you love and then the money will come. And get whatever you find out what you love to do, become the best in the world at it. And that's the thing. Like with my branded content, could I like slack off and like, you know, just like buy this? Yeah. But like but I love, and I spend a lot of money on my content, on my production. I used to spend like all of the money that I would make like on it. And my managers, my previous managers were like, you're fucking crazy. Like, what are you doing? And I was like,
you're investing in your business. It's
because then now brands are like, we want the SFK like ad. Like like it's known, like brands are coming to me specifically wanting a type of storytelling in my vibe and like a style, like the SFK style, which like is like literally like I've been working years at that to get to that place. You're
making effectively, you're like taking it back to the OG commercials that we all used to watch as kids in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's like
I love.
So well produced,
Thank you.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, I'm like, what camera is she using? It's beyond that. But like,
it's all the storytelling.
Right. And it's like it shows you reinvest back into your business.
You have to listen to your intuition. Like people are always going to be like, why are you doing this? No, you should do this different. And like, and I, by the way, I'm always like, I hire everyone who's better than me. Like literally, like I'm really great at hiring. I've hired amazing people. I still work with every single person that's been my assistant has now like been a different level for me, if that makes sense. So like one of my assistants is now my COO. Another one of my assistants, social media strategy.
So
another one of my assistants runs Let's Fucking
You are your own company, effectively, and you are promoting people within your company.
So I think it's so important to like help people grow, go after their dreams, and also like hire people that are better than you. But every time I haven't listened to my intuition, I'm so fucking mad at myself. Like every time without fail. And so it's about like just being like intuitively, like I feel like X, you know, I feel like I want to not do this brand deal and like you just have to really trust yourself in that. I think that's also what confidence is like whatever that voice is. I don't know if it's God. I don't know if it's
whatever deity you believe in.
My mental illness. Like, I don't know what it is. But that voice is so on point every time. It's like a guardian angel that isn't infected by society, what your parents might have taught you, or like the kid that bullied you at school. Like, it's like there's something about this voice that is very, you know, true to you and guiding you. And I think like, holy fuck, like listen to that.
But isn't it great? Because like I always think if you listen to yourself and you make a mistake, it's like, I don't have any regrets because this is what I thought I should have done in the first place. And it wasn't right. Because sometimes your inner voice is just wrong, right? We're not always right. Our intuition sometimes leads us astray. But every time I've listened to somebody else against my own intuition, I'm like, this sucks. I should have just listened to myself. The regret is always in not listening to myself rather than in listening to myself and fucking up, right?
I don't think my intuition has ever failed me. Like you just said that. No. Like it's never. It's always when I don't listen to it.
Interesting. Okay, so you've never had a moment where you're like, I thought I should have done this and it didn't pan out the way I thought it would?
Perhaps, but I don't really see that as like, I see that as just like a lesson.
A lesson to the next
No, I'm always
step.
right. I'm just kidding. No, I just think it's a lesson.
You know what? You're always eventually right. Maybe that's the way to think about it.
Like I always think it's redirecting you to where you need to be. So maybe that's my perception of things. So I don't really feel like I shouldn't have listened to my intuition. My intuition's always fucking right. It just might lead me to something unexpected. But that can be a positive thing.
And most of the time
always how you look at it. Oh, it always is. Like it really always is.
Well, I think women are taught to question our intuitions all the time. We're taught to second guess, whereas men just like do things. I remember I had an ex one time, and I was we were like drunk in Punta Cana or something, and I used to sing, right? And I'm not like a great singer, but I used to like singing, right? And I grew up kind of wanting to perform and everything, and so I would like sing for him drunkenly, like when we were together and whatever. And like there was like a weird karaoke thing going on at the bar. And he was like, you should just get up there and sing. And I did it and it was kind of horrible and I was drunk and whatever. And I left and I was like, whatever. Like nobody saw it. But he was like, Anna, like what you should do is because he was like, it's not that you're a bad singer, it's that you act like you're a bad singer. You get up there and you're like, I'm not supposed to. Baby. I know. And I was like, I didn't, I was like, where were you in my life back then? I mean, where was I, honestly? Like I had my like confidence was like not in this atmosphere, right? So he was like, you know, you look at me and you think I know what I'm doing. And the reality is I just make shit up and people just automatically assume I'm right because I say it with confidence.
That's what SFK is. It's literally, and I don't like fake it till you make it because I feel like you're born with confidence. So it's like, it's just tapping back into that. But yeah, that's what I do.
It's like if you act like you know what you're doing, people will believe it.
The way that I like started a whole card game empire without even knowing, having gone to business school, like I just literally Googled how to make a card game. And I just did it. Like that's incredible. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. So that's the thing. It's like, but the people that are successful are the ones that are willing to try. And I'm willing to try. Like I don't get embarrassed. Like I'm literally willing to just try anything. Like I think life is too short to not.
No, I know. It's great. And it's like, you know, I think there's like a genetic thing going on there because your parents are both creatives.
Yeah, fully.
Which is so interesting.
My mom was a doctor before.
Oh, she was?
And then she like literally finished medical school.
And she was like, this is not for me?
Yeah, after her residency in Argentina. And then she immigrated here, went to NYU. Where's my parents met at NYU at Tisch.
Oh, okay.
Graduate school. My dad was also going to be in the Marines, and then he left and then wanted to be journalism. And then he ended up in filmmaking. So both of them were very much like programmed to do something else through their parents and then said fuck it. And, you know.
They were both programmed to do the practical thing, to follow the conventional path.
Right. And then they didn't. So, yes, that's where the genetic nepotism comes into play.
But I think it's funny because it's like either we look at our parents and we don't want to do anything that they have to do with they're doing, you know, or we look at them and we're like, I want to do exactly what they're doing.
I grew up as an only child, divorced parents. They divorced when I was 2. They moved a block away from one another. So it'd go Monday, mom, Tuesday, dad, Wednesday, mom, Thursday, dad, and like so on. So every other day I would go back and forth.
That's great, actually.
They remained like I wouldn't say they were like friends, but they were really good at co-parenting and they put me first and they didn't talk shit about each other and they split everything 50-50 and like that was really like the most fortunate thing. I think a lot of parents like they like made conscious uncoupling cool before Gwyneth Paltrow decided. Like really, like they invented that. I remember a lot of other parents that were like getting divorced would like go to them for advice and so they really put me first. I think like
how old were you when they got
I was
divorced?
2, so I don't even remember them together. But
so this was just like normal.
This was
for
normal.
You.
So I think in terms of like career-wise, like I just remember seeing 2 people just love what they do. And like at my mom's, we would watch, she had cable, so we'd watch all the obviously reality TV and she works at MTV. So that's what we'd watch and dissect everything. And then at my dad's, we would just watch movies. And I don't know, it's just like my parents were so passionate about it and storytelling and dissecting and analyzing. And so I just saw 2 people and I'd visit my mom at MTV and go to TRL. And then I'd visit my dad on set at like Port Authority just doing a whole scene. And I just saw 2 people that like loved what they did and took so much pride in what they did. And I just wanted to emulate that.
That's amazing. Because I feel like so many of us are not lucky enough to like grow up with parents who like love what they do.
It's like, it's really like,
it's actually very rare. I don't actually know anybody who in my life who's like, oh, my parents like loved what they did. Like they might have been successful.
What a bummer because you spend the most of your time working
of your
life. So,
but I will say it's like my parents did not love what they did. But I think for immigrants, there's not much choice, right? Which is why my parents have always let me just do whatever I wanted to do because my dad was like, I had to make a living here.
100%.
So that you know, I did the thing that I didn't want to do so you could do what you wanted to do. And they're so happy now that I find it because they were very worried about me for a solid 10 years. I had a solid 10 years post-college where it was just very unclear.
That's what your 20s are for. I don't know. I think, yes, I think we'd be remiss to not mention degrees of privilege within this conversation and like how much that, you know, enables people to be able to do what they want to do. However, I think now people are not glued to one job. Like a lot of the people that, I mean, I have like 4 jobs. A lot of the people that work for me, I'm one of 5 clients that they have or jobs that they have. So I think now it's like everyone has a side hustle. Everyone has like a different project and like we work from home now more. Like I think that that's changing generationally where you have to take a really shitty job and that's the only outlet that you have. That's the only time you're spending is that.
Well, technology,
and maybe
I think
that's like a very
that.
like, technology has changed that too, right? Because like you can have a whole business online and like I just see that more and more. So yes.
And I think, you know, taking privilege into consideration, it's like we're talking about kind of 2 different groups of people here. And so it's like if you are privileged enough to be in that bucket where you can move around, where you have an education, maybe even if you don't have an education,
No,
it's like
like
and
a
you're
side
stuck
hustle.
in a
Right.
job that you don't like, it's not like you're also feeding 5 kids and like you don't speak the language and you have no idea, those are different kind of buckets of people we're talking about. And so it's like if you are privileged enough to move around, you should not stay.
But also like I'm sorry, and maybe
Yes.
this is like the white privilege in me, and that's fine, okay? But I've seen so many stories. Like, I think that if you really want something so bad and you believe in yourself and you say, I'm gonna make this happen, like, I just think the world rewards you. Like, I think that you can make it happen. I really fucking do. And maybe that's a very like positive, toxic POV, but like we've seen a lot of really successful people come from nothing and they were just focused on the work and dedicated and got the fuck out of like their situation. And I think that it really is like if you have that drive and that hunger in you, like you can make it happen.
I think basically your dreams have to change given your circumstances. So yes, these people that I know who've come from nothing, a lot of careers were not in the cards for them, right? And a lot of careers were not in the cards for me. But it's like, okay, well, what am I good at? It's going back to hey, like, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at this. Like, this is what I'm good at. How can I capitalize on that? I started off in my 20s wanting to be an actress.
Right.
And it just didn't really work out. Like, I auditioned.
But it could happen now.
That's the thing. It didn't work out.
I am writing a movie.
There we go.
It's the thing, like, I think, like, for you to be like, it didn't work out, says who? Like, you have a long-ass fucking life. If
it didn't
you really
work out
want
at
this,
that time.
Right, but
that's
if you
the thing.
but maybe because it wasn't meant for you at that time, right?
Right. And I'm okay. Here's the thing. It's like I live a life beyond what I could have ever imagined 10 years ago. And really what I wanted to do was tell stories because I always felt like I didn't have a voice growing up. So
You're doing an amazing job at it.
Well, thank you. But it's, I think that is what I set out to achieve. And 10 years ago, we didn't have TikTok. We didn't even have video on Instagram. So the only vessel I remember thinking like the only avenue for me is acting. So that's what I'm going to pursue. But it's funny because you're always just trying to get picked in acting. You're auditioning for approval.
Fully.
Which is so interesting. I think being the female director is such a power move because you are the one creating the product. You are picking yourself and then you're picking everyone else.
This is literally why my parents didn't let me be an actress. For that reason, my dad was like, no, you want to be an actress, be a writer and write the role for yourself. And I was like, damn.
Because here's the thing, as an actress, it's like you could not get the role because you're too short or you're too tall or they already cast the guy.
You're just you're literally at the mercy of someone else. Like, why would you? That to me is like, that's a life that like you just have to want it so fucking bad because I could never.
It's terrible because it's the only job somebody told me where they're allowed to discriminate against how you look.
Yeah.
That and like bottle service girls at clubs.
And like,
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I was constantly being told in my 20s as I'm trying to figure out how to love myself, like this is why you're not working in the field you want to work in. And so your parents were like, we see this. We're going to stay ahead of the curve. So why'd you go to Duke?
Because I really wanted to go to film school, like a USC or like a Tisch.
Which you did go to USC in high school for a little bit.
I did.
And you dated like
what the researcher you are, yeah.
Didn't you date a guy like 8? Yeah. First of all, I didn't realize you could have a relationship with a 25-year-old when you're like 16. That was the age gap, right?
Mm-hmm, you can.
I was like, is that legal? Is he in jail now?
It was.
16's the cutoff, right?
16's the cutoff.
Is that just in California or is that everywhere?
I mean, we were in California, but I think that's New York. I don't really care, to be honest. Like, it was weird. Like, it was. I think my parents, they like the weed analogy of your dad. It's that. They were like, as long as he's treating you well, like, go off, I guess.
You're alive.
But
you're not doing,
But like, looking back now, like, my boyfriend's 24 and like, if he was dating a 16-year-old, like that would be wild to me. So yeah, like something wasn't, there was a screw loose there. But I did make a movie at AOC. I went to Duke because my parents were like, you need an education. And like, it'll, you don't want to be someone who, and this is not completely true, but this was just the opinion at the time, that like is only talking about movies. Like it's better to actually have a well-rounded education where you're interested
to inform your movies. You're making movies about life. If you're not living life, how do you make movies about life accurately?
Exactly. And I loved it. And I loved Duke. It was a long time ago, but I loved it. It was the best ever. And I'm so happy. And yeah, I went in being like, I want to be the next Sofia Coppola. I want to be a filmmaker. And obviously that wasn't the first thing I did out of college. There was a lot of work and a lot of different things that I've tried and done and been successful at. But like, this is the new era. Like, this is like committing to my 15-year-old dream when I was 15. you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think
Sorry, when I was 15 years old.
Everything you've done has really just been leading up to this point and will continue to be. I don't think like you took a sidetrack to
not at all.
to be
I wouldn't have been in the
SFK.
meetings I was in if I hadn't like made this name for myself. I realized like everything is supposed to, you have to trust the timing of your life. Like you have to. And like even with dating stuff, which we barely even talked about, which is hilarious because
We're getting there.
But like I look back and I'm like, oh, I wasted so much time being anxious and upset that I wasn't going to meet someone, you know? And like, that was a lot of time I just could have spent doing something else.
I always think like if I had known 10 years ago I'd be here, I would have gone on vacation more. I would have just enjoyed my life more because I'd be like, I'm good. I'm going to get to where I need to be. But like, that's what I need to do now because like there's always the goalpost is always moving. There's always a new set of anxieties. Like
so true.
For people who are motivated and want to, achieve a lot, it's like, okay, now I'm here. How do I enjoy here?
Always what's next. Always.
Because it's never enough, right? And it's like, it's like, did you ever think you would be here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's where you and I differ.
It's so funny when people are like, on TikTok, they're like, I never thought in a million. I was like, no, bitch. I literally came out of the womb being like, where the fuck is my red carpet?
See, that's amazing. I'm convinced some people are born out of the womb with confidence. Like, I feel like I've just always been sort of like, maybe it's a way to protect myself, like constantly surprised. Because I'm like, if I set lower expectations for myself, but I work my ass off.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought this up. This is why, like, fundamentally, I am very against this whole Delulu thing. This whole Delulu trend.
Yes.
And this is going to go probably viral when we post on TikTok. I am fundamentally against the Delulu trend because, even though I say it, so, like, I bought into it, but
we're all hypocrites at the end of the day.
It's fine. We're totally hypocrites. Inherently, saying that you're Delulu means you're delusional, which is a negative connotation for stupid, you thinking a reality that doesn't exist, correct?
Yes.
We can actually like pull up what the actual definition is, but
actually I'm
curious. Will you pull it up? Because instead of being confident saying, I'm gonna have a boyfriend, I'm going to make 6 figures, you're like, I'm so delulu, like I'm gonna have a boyfriend. So basically what you're saying is like, I'm gonna say what I want in life. What is the actual definition of delusional?
Merriam-Webster, something that is falsely or delusively. Why are they using? Okay, next. The act of tricking or deceiving someone, the state of being deluded.
Okay, great. So essentially, this is like a negative connotation, and you're tricking. Tricking is a negative thing, right? You're being facetious. You're not being real. So it's like instead of just being like honest and being like, I'm gonna have a boyfriend, I'm gonna win an Oscar, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. Women are now, and it's literally, I see it. There's no guy that's like, I'm Delulu. I don't think I've ever heard my boyfriend say I'm Delulu in my life. It's like women are now saying, I'm just going to be Delulu for a sec and say, I want X, Y, and Z. So that way, if it doesn't happen, they're like, well, I was Delulu. Versus just being honest and confident with who they are and being like, no, I want this, and I'm going to get this for myself. It's like, it has to be preemptive, like this, like, I'm just so silly and dumb and I'm going to trick myself into thinking that you're not tricking yourself. You're making this happen for yourself. You're manifesting this for yourself. You're doing the work to get there. And like, that's why all the time I'm like, I'm going to get on the Forbes list. Bitch, I fucking did it. I'm going to have an amazing boyfriend. Fucking did that too. I'm going to get into an amazing college. I did that. Like there's so many things that I said, I'm going to do this. And I know there's a part of the internet that is literally shitting on me, right? Oh my God, who the fuck does she think she is? And I remember when I posted, I'm gonna win an Oscar, I remember so many people were like, for what? What do you mean? Actually, thank you so much for asking, for writing, and I will. And it's not me being Delulu. It's like I'm doing the work to get there.
Right.
And I wish that women felt more confident and comfortable saying what they want. And this is why, and I'll shut the fuck up out of this, I'm just very passionate. I started this whole like vision board movement. I like hosted an event. It literally sold out in 3 seconds. Like I've been so like, the vision board is this space for women to be comfortable with being like, this is what I want. Because we are never taught to do that.
Yes.
Because if we do that, we're greedy, we're spoiled, we're delulu. How could we think that we could possibly get X, Y, and Z?
When you get it most from other women, not even so much from men.
It's totally inherently, it's all projection, all jealousy for sure. But it's like, That's why I'm like such a big fan of the vision board, because I remember I was like, I hosted an event. There was like 150 women there, and they were going out in front of everyone and being like, this is what I want, and like reading it. And I'm like, these women have not done this before. Yeah. Like they haven't been given the opportunity to dream and to be like, this is what I want to fucking accomplish. Because the second you say it, you can make it happen. You have to be able to say it and visualize it first.
Right. Well, I think women are told what we should want.
Right.
And it's usually fitting in. You know, I always think like my life changed truly the moment I decided to live it with the entitlement of a mediocre straight white man.
Obsessed.
Because it's true. It's like I look at some of the people that I went to school with and I'm like, you are not special.
They fill up.
And you feel entitled to so much and you get it. And I look at that
Literally,
and I'm like,
but
when
women do it, it makes people so uncomfortable. And that's the thing about SFK. Like,
that's
she's
the thing.
that.
It's like that's where
her.
BDE comes from. I think that, you know,
SFK and BDE, it's the same fucking acronym. It's just spelled differently. It's that. And it made people very uncomfortable. It makes people very uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's why, like, going back to the beginning of the conversation, like, that's why sometimes I'm like, I don't have that mass that I would like to have. And it's for a reason, so that's okay. And that's why I'm like, maybe if I step back and tell stories where I'm not so front-facing, it might be more ingestible to audiences, what I'm trying to put out there. But I think
because they can remove you.
Right. I think people are very intimidated or like off-put by SFK because it goes against what they think a woman should be.
Well, it's almost like, you know, a woman who is confident in herself is very inconvenient. I didn't say that. I saw that. But I thought it was brilliant.
Totally inconvenient.
It's like
I'm annoying. I'm sorry. Get over it. Unfollow me. Like, scroll.
I know. It's like,
why does it bother you? Because you wish that you had the gravitas to fucking say something that you want in life. So just go for it.
Yeah, and I think the difference is that's like why I feel like your content is relatable and why it's like it's not like, oh, she's just obnoxious, is because like
I want it for other people.
Yeah, you do it for yourself. You don't do it at the expense of other people.
Ever.
You know?
And that's what confidence is. It's like being at the top of a mountain and being like, guys, the view here is fucking amazing. Get your ass up here now. Right. That's why I do the vision board parties. And that's why I like try to like, I want women to realize that they have that power. And by the way, it's beneficial for me to have women in positions of power fucking slaying. It does not, there's no competition. Like I need these women.
Right.
Like when I did that circuit in LA of meetings, I really spoke to all women. I was like, holy fuck, women are the one buying movies? Like, that's crazy. Like, this has been a very, like, categorically, I mean, probably all their bosses are white, straight males. They are.
For now.
But categorically, like, the fact that they're in these positions and they're reading and they're bringing something to their boss is huge. And that's why we're going to see more Barbies and, like, more of these incredible stories told and made by women. It's because, like, we need women confident enough to be fucking in these positions of power.
Like women move economies. You know, last year,
bitch,
who saved
on our backs? On our backs. Beauty industry on our back.
Well, it's like, and it's also, you think about from a branding perspective, it's like, what's more valuable, women or men?
Everything is, women are superior. That's why we're the inferior fucking gender. Like, that's why. It's because we are superior. Hello? I'll die in the fucking hell.
I love that. I watched your podcast episode with your now boyfriend. That was effectively your first date. And let me just say, I felt like I was intruding. I was like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me how that opportunity came about? Like, how did he reach out to you? And
so our mutual friend, Talia Lickstein, who's on TikTok, was on his podcast. And she was like, you should have Serena Kerrigan on. And he DM'd me and I said, yeah, or no, I think he texted her for my number and he was like, I think we would have a ball together. Like I looked into this girl and she didn't respond. So it was kind of funny, like the world, like, and so if someone, I'd just be like, oh, fuck it. Then he like DMs me. We love like he's chasing me. And by the way, no, this was all super professional. I don't think he had any clue or
he had
indication.
Like a pitch or whatever.
I think he really liked, I think he just liked seeing me on interviews and the content and thought it was interesting. And then he DM'd me and I was like, yeah, reach out to my publicist. And I just remember saying that because I do really like try to just be selective with my time. But I remember saying yes to him and like be like, yeah, just reach out because I thought it was interesting that a straight man wanted to interview me.
Right.
It's very rare. So I was like, this is interesting. I thought I saw his previous guest. I was like, this is legit. Publicist said yes. I really am not thinking anything. I was like going to take the subway to Brooklyn and then I get a text from Felix being like, I called a car for you. He never calls Uber Black for anyone, but he called it for me that day. I don't know what intuition he had, but he called me one. I get in the car, and then I remember he like was standing outside of his studio with his videographer. My publicist nowhere to be found. I'm like, I'm literally paying you to like greet me, be there. No, he was like inside, whatever. Felix was there. So the moment that we met is on camera, which is really crazy. Like we hugged, and then just like
he already had the cameras rolling.
Right.
Oh,
Like
wow.
he had it outside to follow me, and then like it really just was like the second I sat down, it was weirdly like I never believed it was literally love at first sight. I didn't realize this.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you listened. Like, it's a crazy, like, it's really crazy.
There's like something weird happening when you like.
I mean, I think like literally
like,
it was love at first sight. Like, I think it was just like, and I don't think sight as in like I looked at him, I was like, I'm in love with you. But I think like instantly it was just like this connection that was like very palpable and like obvious. Like even to, like, and I listened to the episode actually like a couple of days ago because it was like the 1 year anniversary. And yeah, it's crazy to me how much we're flirting. Like I literally 6 minutes in, I'm like, are you hitting on me? I'm down.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even hitting on me. But so after the
he's like trying his best. He's like, this is professional.
No,
like,
he's trying to keep professional. I was like, sorry. And then on the podcast, I said like, I'll be in a relationship in 2 years. And he was like, where are you going to find this human? And I was like, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. And he's like, you should bring him into the podcast. And I was like, it was literally him.
I'm sure you talk about that all the time. But did he feel the same thing? Was he like, the moment I saw you, I thought something different? I don't know, men are...
Like, I don't think that we were both like actually... Like, I think we both agreed that like we were going to see each other after the fact. I think I was in denial, like, but I did text him after. I just felt so safe with him. And I always, like, I knew that was the feeling that I needed to look for. And I remember feeling so safe. So afterwards, I just texted him saying, like, I had such a great time. Thanks for having me. And then he was like, we should continue after, like, at dinner.
And that's how it...
And then we were official.
Did you realize he was asking you out to dinner and this wasn't just like... Because it's actually kind of natural to be like, oh, you know, we vibed during the podcast. Like, let's be friends after.
Is it? Not with men, though. Like
that's
no.
True.
Like with you, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Kiki afterwards. But like men, like no, it was like, yeah, like cut too short. Like we should continue at dinner, like without mics and cameras. And we were official 3 weeks later.
That's wild.
It was wild.
That is great. Where'd you go for your first date? Your first off-camera date?
Sushi Yasuda. It was like omakase. It was like really legit. He picked me up in his car, which is like people in New York.
So he drives. So he can drive the getaway car, even though you can't.
Exactly. Very important.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
But I still would like Uber.
Was it one of those like crazy 8-hour dates, or were you like, I have to?
No, I'm very strict about that. It was dinner, so because we really had our date already. But I've always been like, you leave them wanting more, and it's not a game thing. But also, you're busy. You know, you have a schedule. Like, you don't need to be on a date.
You
for
get
8
up
hours.
early.
You get up early.
So and I think you texted him very early the next.
I love
he
this.
Was like, didn't you like? He was like, what was I like your first text that morning?
Yeah,
like at 7:27. You're like, I get up early. Like what?
Yeah, exactly.
My husband does. He loves to bust my balls because I'm like, you love me more than I loved you in the beginning. But then he was like, well, you were the one who asked me to be your boyfriend. I'm like, no, I didn't. I just asked, what are we?
Oh my God, that's literally so fucking funny that you say that. And I think like Lindsay Metzler has that rule.
Yes.
You know, you recently interviewed her and she's a really close friend of mine, has been. Like we started out together. And she says that like a guy should love you, 20% more than like your boyfriend.
And I think men feel like have to lose you in order to stay with you. I know that's controversial, but
it's not. But it's like I didn't like make that happen or that. I literally am obsessed with my boyfriend, but like I do agree. Like there is that slight percentage that you want to have. Like I just feel like he.
I don't know if it's like evolution or something like the 100 guy.
Yes, it is. It is.
But
though.
it's like I think that is women are taught.
Sperm chases the egg. It has to be like that, and that's why like I get messages from women that are like, so we went on a date. I haven't heard from him. Should I text? I'm like, but like because if you already went on the date, that means like he knows you exist. And men are like, they're very one-track mind. Like with Felix, it was just like
it's yes or no.
It was just so obvious. There was never a question. There was never there was just no question in my mind. And everyone told me that that's how it would be, but I didn't believe them clearly because I'd always like be confused. It's like if you're confused, just stop. Just literally walk away. But I think that, and I know that you have opinions on this. This is because of scarcity mentality, which is completely perpetuated by the patriarchy. Sorry to bring this up again, but it's just
100%.
Like my mom said when she first moved to New York, everyone was like, there's no good men left in New York. There were cover of every magazine article, like how to win a man because like there are none left. Like,
or we're taught like, oh my God, the ratio is so skewed. There's so many more women than men in New York.
A constant. Like that is not real. But what that does is it forces women to settle for mediocre. men and to like settle for less than what they deserve. And like there are many times where I was just like, am I like just asking for too much, expecting for too much? And like,
No, the answer is never.
The answer was no. I, in 2020, wrote a list of all the qualities I wanted in a boyfriend and in a partner. And literally, like, when I say, like, it's scary how it's Felix, like, I didn't write anything about age. And, like, he's younger than me because I don't care. I don't think that that's a factor. I wrote emotional intelligence, maturity, right? Like, he hits every single one. Like, I wrote doesn't drink, which, like, it doesn't actually matter. Like,
do you not drink?
No, like, I fucking rage. Right. But when I was thinking about my partner, I was like, I don't want them to be, like, drunk and hungover. Like, and he doesn't drink. Like, he will at a wedding, but, like, that's not – and I'm so happy with that. But I was like, damn, okay. Like, literally things that I wrote down were so real. And I do believe that it works because we write down all of our dreams, our goals, our visions for our career. So why wouldn't we do that for the partner that we want to have?
Well,
so
I always say, like, dating is a career. And, like, people are always like – you know, I don't like dating. I don't like swiping. I don't like doing – I'm like, nobody said you had to like it. Like,
I know, but I also think that mentality perpetuates, like, negativity and not good energy. I think that if you're like, dating is an adventure and I'm on this ride, okay? Like, if you say it sucks, it's going to suck. Like, the way that you speak about things come to fruition. So, like, if you just go – and I always was trying to be like, he's out there. We're vibing. We're working on ourselves. Like, I'm not fucking settling. And I just kept trying to have that. And don't get me wrong, like, there were many moments of like tears.
Like, this sucks.
Like the weekends were the worst because I was always slowing down. And I was like, oh my God. And it would catch up with me. But I think the way that you speak about it is very important.
Well, I think it's the way you can allow yourself to feel bad
Feelings
for a
go
second.
away. Feelings go away. They're temporary.
Yes. And then pick yourself right back up.
But feelings go away. You're allowed to also feel upset. And for more than 24 hours if you want. But I think that's 48 is like the cap for spiraling. But then it's like, but saying like dating sucks, you're literally making this a chore. Like a cemented like narrative in your plot. Like a feeling is temporary. And so that's why like even if you're talking about yourself, I always say like you're allowed to feel insecure, you're allowed to feel bad about yourself, you're allowed to feel bloated, or I mean you're allowed to feel like your hair doesn't look so great. But feelings are temporary. So it's really, I get scared when women are like, I'm ugly or like I'm never gonna find someone because I'm like, oh my God, I'm like you're literally right.
And you
I'm like,
feel like you're never going to find somebody.
Feelings, but like when you say that I am or I like those statements, I'm like, oh, you're right. Like I literally like believe like you're writing your plot, like you're literally writing the storybook for yourself. Like don't do that. Like let's
let's erase this.
Let's erase this immediately.
And then
you're
just
in charge of your plot, bitch.
Or it's like, for me, it was like I struggled. So, I mean, it sounds like you did too for most of your 30s or 20s, dating in New York. I mean, it's just a slog here.
I also think like being single in your 20s, like, I'm sorry, like the memoir wrote itself. Like I literally am just like lit. Like you have all these stories. It's so fun. Like
my whole career is built off of
literally
dating in my 20s.
Stories. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I think the issue here that you're bringing up is like when you look at what other people are doing, then you're always going to be upset. But then it'll come around. It's like people are like, all my friends are in relationships. Well, what if I told you they're all going to get divorced? Right. Then would you be as upset? Like, so just stop looking at what other people are doing.
I always say to people who are like, all my friends are in relationships, everybody's getting, I'm like, would you date or marry any of their boyfriends or husbands? And the answer is
no.
So
exactly. It's just like stop looking at, focus on what you can control. Like if you feel like you are having a tough time meeting people, then what situations can you put yourself in where you could? And like, I could have easily said no to that podcast when he asked me to be on it.
Right.
But I was in it was a real state at that time, like a very conscious state of being open.
You were in a transition phase. I remember you were like, I feel like I'm in a
Serena Sans. And I was, and I still am, by the way.
Right.
But I was very open. Like, it's funny, someone called this out because I like posted. People didn't believe that we actually met on the podcast for the first time because like, the internet, because we're so fucking chute. And like, people just thought the chemistry was too crazy.
They want to hate. Sorry. So I watched that. I was like, there's no way they didn't meet on this podcast. 100%. You can't fake this stuff.
They didn't listen to the podcast.
Hollywood could not write that.
They agree.
They didn't watch it. I'm sorry.
Classic. They didn't watch it. Like they did watch the clip. Like classic. Like people are so funny. But anyway, I posted receipts because I was like, "Fuck you." And like someone commented that like when he said like the car's here, I said, "I'm ready!" Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Like I'm ready. And I was like, "That's so interesting," because you're right. In that time of my life, I was ready for a relationship. Like I really was. I thought I was before, but I wasn't. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that like. Who you're choosing. Like, I think that if I had met Felix 6 months earlier, I would have run away. Easily would have self-sabotaged, would have like been like, oh, he's too into me. Yeah. I was intentionally going after guys that were emotionally unavailable, physically, geographically unavailable. Like, guys that like were giving me slim nothing, like little scraps.
Below the bare minimum.
Because I wasn't actually ready for that healthy, real relationship. So if you find yourself, you're like, they're no good men. I'm not saying you should blame yourself, but like, are you attracting what you're putting out?
But why do you think you weren't ready? Like, where do you think? Because I know I was not ready before I met my husband, but it was, again, for me, a very clear line in the sand as to why I wasn't ready. Like, by the time I met him, I was like, I would love a boyfriend, but I don't need you. Whereas prior to that, I was like, I need a boyfriend to feel fulfilled.
There you go.
So
I feel for me, it was really like going through like some trauma experience when I was younger. Like really, like I thought, like it's so funny. Like I've been in therapy since I was 7. So like I was like, I'm so self-aware. I'm so like in tune with my emotions and myself. But I think that like when you go through traumatic things in your life, like you actually like the human reaction could be to like tuck it away, hide it, throw it under the rug, like really to not deal with it. And I didn't realize how much things that happened to me were affecting me in my present, which is why I'm like obviously such an advocate for therapy, but also like talking about the really difficult shit. Like I was able to do that and it was very healing. And then I realized like, oh, like I'm scared of this relationship because of X, Y, and Z in my childhood. So I really think that was, so once I was able to really work through that, then I realized like, no, like I am ready for this. And once I said I'm ready, like within a couple months, like boom, it happened. But I really like was ready. And not ready because I needed it to fulfill me or validate me or make me feel, it wasn't that. It was just like, I was like, I built a great life and career for myself. Like I want to share this with someone.
right, there's this other piece that, I need, but it doesn't fulfill me. It's just one extra thing in my life right now.
And my mom has never dated since my dad. And so she was always like, she
never dated?
No. She was like one guy when I was like 2. But she was always like, you fulfill yourself, your career, your friends, you, like me. Like these things fulfill myself. Like I'm so happy and like everything is an additive, like a boyfriend or anything. And she was just like, I just don't need it. And I remember growing up, people were like, even your reaction, you're like, what the fuck? Which is like, it is kind of, it's crazy. And that's also like, I think that I've always said like, you have to get to a place where you're really comfortable being by yourself. And like, and because when you're, being alone doesn't mean being lonely. Like not being in a relationship doesn't mean you're alone. Like you have all these friends, you have family, you have your career, you have so many things in your life. So it's about that perspective. But yeah, no, to this day, like, she's not interested. She's like, I don't want to put up with a man's shit. I was like, damn, girl, you right.
That is,
right.
Your dad was that difficult. That's amazing. No,
I think
I'm
just men in general.
Yeah.
At that generation, yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually rare of her generation to have a career that she still is working. I mean, like a lot of women from our parents' generation did not work because they're like, we don't need to. And there was middle class back then. So, now it's kind of a little harder to do that. You said you weren't ready for a relationship, but you also said at one point that you were really good, and I think this was on Felix's podcast, that you were really good about not going back to people that had left you or you had left. Like once you were done, you were done. I think the analogy was, I was like, this is genius. Like
spoiled milk.
Spoiled milk. It's like you trying to go back to a relationship is trying to make spoiled milk unspoiled, like putting it back in the fridge and hoping it'll like automatically uncurdle itself. Yeah. But like how? How do you, because so many people have a difficult time not going back to an ex because they feel like there's unfinished business.
There's
like
not.
No, there's never.
Not. Like, yes, okay, maybe the once in a blue moon, it's been 10 years and you're different people. But I think like I did that. My first love, I did that.
So you
with
did
him.
go back. That was my question. It's like,
Yeah,
did you go back and
I just learned my
from that?
lesson.
Okay.
I went back and we slept together. He kind of like.
How old were you?
So it was like, I got dumped at a wedding. It wasn't mine. But I was dumped at like my boyfriend at the time's wedding. It was like right out of college. He was my college boyfriend, my first love. And he went back to school because he was younger than me. And then we…
Also, men have awful timing. Like Lindsay got dumped on her birthday. You got dumped at a
wedding. And it's crazy.
Like literally you could have just…
For the plot. So good.
Yes.
And so then he was back in the city and we slept together and then it was texting and then it was like, oh, should we get back together? And then I like booked a flight to see him at Duke and then he was like, wait, like don't come. Like I'm seeing someone. And he's actually engaged to that girl, which is so funny. But all good. Super happy for him and her.
Yeah.
And literally like…
It's also been like 10 years. It's
legit. But it's like, I remember like the first time I got broken up with, it was like, I felt like I was drowning. The second time, it was an unexplainable feeling. It was just like, ripping a scab open and like literally like your guts are oozing out. Like it just was the worst feeling ever. And I literally just vowed, I was like, this, like, you just can't go back. Like this is like, of course this fucking happened. Like we broke up for a reason. Like the relationship is broken for a reason. Like it's called breakups because they're broken. And I think like the idea of going back means that you want the validation, you want the ego, you want the sex, which is totally all valid things. But like what you need to realize is like you're just wasting time. And I think like, I don't know if it's like the Aries in me, but I'm like obsessed with time and like how you spend time. And I think like it's a currency you'll never get back. So literally you're just delaying the inevitable, which is you're not going to be together and you're going to get over them. So why wouldn't you just start the process now? Like the second someone leaves your life, it's like, fuck, but fine. And I think like it's harder with a breakup because people have been like, it's harder like when you're actually in a relationship with someone. But when it's the like 1, 2, 3 or 4 month dates or like the situationships of it all, I'm like,
those are the worst.
When they show you who they are right at the beginning. Felix showed me exactly who he was from the first interaction. He got me a car. He checked in on me. He was there waiting for me. He's such a gentleman. He took care of me. He made me feel safe. He was from the fucking beginning. Like, I can't tell you, like, all these dates and situations that I've been in, you can know from the moment you start talking to them who they are and how they're going to treat you.
If you have to wonder, then it's a no.
Oh, forget 100%. Right? But walk away. Like, it's just like, you know.
But that's the scarcity mindset. That's women's scarcity mindset coming into play. It's like, I'm never going to do better than what I had, and he wasn't all terrible.
But yeah,
so like,
but we're not settling. We're not settling, and that's why like I'll die on this hill. Like you can't settle. And stop fucking going back to trust. You're just wasting time.
I always think it's like if you have to ask me, a stranger that like, you know, my followers, I'm like, if you have to ask me for my opinion on whether—
you know the answer.
Yeah, you have your answer.
So you know what I do?
Yeah.
As a way to like, because I really respond to like almost all my DMs, but I can't, is sometimes I'll just be like, I'll copy and paste what they write me. And I go, what if I asked you this? And they write me a fucking paragraph. I go, see? I'm like, you knew. I know. You know. It's easier when you're not talking about yourself, right? And that's why I always, with confidence, I'm like, talk to yourself like your best friend. Like, you would hype them up. If they, you know, didn't get a promotion, you'd be like, yeah, you're fucking stupid. Like, you'd be like, fuck that. Like, you'll get it with time or whatever. If a guy ghosts you, you're not gonna be like, oh, yeah, you're so ugly. You'd be like, that guy's a loser, bye. Like, he's not your person.
Right.
It's like, we're so good to our best friends, but not to ourselves. And so that's kind of—
it's almost like we reject ourselves before anybody else rejects us.
Yeah. Out of fear. And so it's about like unlearning that and treating yourself with that kindness.
This is back to the question. First of all, I find it so interesting that your mom has never dated since your dad.
She dated one guy. She'll probably want me to say that, but like barely.
Yeah, okay. In how long? It's been 30 years.
Yeah,
28 actually, because you're 30 now.
Yeah,
so she too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 28 years she's dated one man. I think that's a pretty good track record.
Incredible. No dick. No vibes.
You can buy dick now.
Literally.
But this idea of being self-sufficient and you have people in your life and you're alone, right? Because you're not married or in a conventional committed relationship. I feel like you're either in one of two camps as a woman sometimes. It's like, I know women who are like, I've always wanted to be a mom. I grew up with the baby dolls. I knew that was what I wanted. And, you know, I like my career, but one day if I had to give it all up to be a stay-at-home mom, wouldn't think about it, you know, twice. And I'm like, pregnancy, I don't know. You froze your eggs.
I did. I also want to say that like my mom like had a fully beautiful, she's still there, like incredible career, would work until like 6:30 p.m., like juggled. I never felt like she was neglecting me, abandoning me. I think like it helped that like my parents, I was there every other night, but
she did it all.
She did it all. And like, I think—
which I love.
It's important to have a partner or a co-parent that like is there for you. She also didn't have family. Like all of her family's in Argentina. Like I think that now when I have kids, like it'll be a different situation. Like she always says like, I'm like, what are you gonna do after you leave Paramount? And she's like, I'll either work for you or take care of your kids while you work. And I literally am like obsessed.
Which is a very immigrant thing.
Very. But like, it's just like, I feel that concept of like, you either are a stay-at-home mom or not is just like, no, that's not real. Right. But I understand what you're saying. And I even say like with the kids conversation, I mean, I'm dating someone 6 years younger than me who's not remotely ready to have children yet. Like he wants to build his career and I'm super supportive of that. I also want to make a movie and like that to me is like, I can't have a kid until I make a movie.
Right.
Because that is a whole baby that I need to like birth. And it's a very long, arduous process. And I feel like after that, I could maybe have the conversation, but this is like years down the line. And so, yeah, I froze my eggs twice. Like it was a really great decision. It gave me a lot of, it's not 100% effective, like nothing in life is, but it just gave me this sense of like calm. Like I didn't feel like this ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
About
And I
having
think
to have kids.
a lot of my friends who've done it have said it feels like we've sort of leveled the playing field with men.
Literally.
Because men don't feel that.
It's
They're like,
crazy that they don't feel that. Like, it's so annoying. And you realize it, especially, I definitely feel like since I've turned 30, it's more on my mind of like, like before it was like, yeah, one day I'll have kids. But now it's kind of like, maybe we need to like do a little like planning, right? Like, what does that look like? Like, that's just something that I've been thinking about. Also, our friends are having kids. Like, that's another thing too. But I definitely think like, you know, if you have the financial means to freeze your eggs, like you absolutely should. Like I really do. I
think it's like the most feminist thing you can do. Because
fully.
My husband's 6 years older than me, and it's still, he's like, it's when you're ready. It is not about, you know, and so it's like.
It sucks. Like it's so annoying. It's literally so annoying. And it's just like, it's annoying that it's so expensive. And I feel like that's why I'm so vocal about it, because I think, you know, it shouldn't be. It should be really accessible for every woman. But like if every woman could freeze her eggs, like the patriarchy would burn. Like it just would, because it's like when I posted all my videos about freezing my eggs, like, you know, typically you get shit from women, but it was the men. Men were so angry that I was freezing my eggs. I was like, what are you, like, you don't even know what this is. Like, you probably think this is IVF.
Do you
know what I mean?
even know what an egg is?
Like literally, like, so it's just like, I'm like, they definitely know where the clit is. I have no idea. But it's just like, they were so angry. And it's true. It's like, I understand why. It's like, it's just going against convention and like, you know, this idea of like the patriarchy.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to my girlfriend about this because I want to be a parent. I know that,
Yeah, me
but
too.
I don't want to be pregnant. Like in an ideal world, I would have a surrogate
really?
and everything. But
Interesting.
there's a lot of research and time. There's a lot that goes behind a surrogate. It's not just like you find.
No.
It's almost like harder than getting
my
pregnant.
My friends have done it. It's hard.
It's hard.
Also, why the aversion to pregnancy?
I just don't. My mom had a horrible pregnancy with me, was really sick. She was like, couldn't work. And I really want to work throughout my pregnancy.
But I don't think that just because your mom had that experience.
No, I know it's not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. But I'm also just like, I'm really not like, I don't feel like I need that experience to feel like a mom or a woman.
You don't.
I probably will have my own kid because I'm too like type A to like let that
I feel like
into anybody else's. But one of my girlfriends was saying, she was like, you know, if men were the ones who could get pregnant and we're the ones who had to have babies, we would be growing children inside sacks and labs right now. Like, you know, we wouldn't need a human being to give, because your body gets really, you know, I've had so many friends of mine who said that the pregnancy itself actually wasn't terrible, but then afterwards, the hormonal shit, like the mental, I'm like, I am already anxious and depressed. What is
I'm dead. I really see it as like the most amazing thing like your body could do. Like why I love to experience everything. Like I jumped out of a plane, I bungee jumped, I'm fucking giving birth. Like I'm doing it. Like I want to see what the vibes are. Like I want to see what's up. Like I want to push a little bitch out. Like let's fucking go. So
you want to be my surrogate?
Like literally dead. You have to pay a hefty penny for this passe.
No, but it's a lot. It's like, and some women want that experience. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm like, okay. You know, I love my dog, and I'm like, I didn't give birth to her, but I feel like I did. Basically.
I think that is you're just as much of a like Kim Kardashian like had a surrogate. That doesn't mean she's not less. Like I think that's fine, like carrying or not. I just think it's like I just noticed like we're all having kids later.
Oh, 100%.
If you're choosing, like everyone is for the most part, and so it's like what? Yeah.
I'm 33. Most of my friends are either 33 or older.
Right.
The only people that have kids are like 37 and up. Everyone else my age is like either just got married and they're just trying to enjoy being married before children, or not married, single, you know, and it's so interesting because at this age, my mom had me when she was 26.
Oh, really? My mom had me when she was 35, which is also why I'm like,
that is very unconventional for that time.
But she was a career woman. That's why. She had 2 careers essentially.
And it's cool because she had it all before women were told that they could have it all.
But to be honest, the reason why I froze my eggs was I always knew I was going to freeze my eggs. Like regardless of like whether I always knew, because my mom was like, I wish I could have. Like I think that's why, like, I mean, it's obviously all great. Like, I love my dad and like amazing that they had me. I'm perfect. But I think that if she would have been given the opportunity to freeze, I don't know if she would have actually had a kid with my dad. You know what I mean? I think it was a time where they were dating. She was like, I need to have a kid. And he was 30. He wasn't ready. He was just starting his career. I don't think he was like really, really ready. Although it was the best thing to happen to him, so slay. But I think there was this pressure that's why I'm like.
She was older than your dad.
Yeah.
Or is
6 years older than my dad.
Wait,
just
that
like
is
me and
so
Felix.
we all turn into our parents, don't we? That is crazy.
I love my mom. I would be down to turn
Does
into her.
Felix remind you of your dad?
Not at all.
Okay.
Like literally not at all. Like I've dated my dad already.
All right, great. Check that box.
You know, like you do the whole thing. I've
got over the daddy issues there
fully. But yeah, no, that's why I think that if I froze them single and then I froze them when I was in a relationship, so twice, and I just remember like when I was single, like it did give me this feeling of like control. And so if you're someone who likes to feel in control and you don't feel in control with your dating life, it's an expensive way to feel in control, but you do feel that way. I froze my eggs at Spring Fertility, and if you use the code SFK, I think you get like $150 off of your consult. So I had the best experience there, and I want to plug them because that doctor's fertility office is as if like Greta Gerwig like wrote it. Like it feels like Hi Barbie. It feels like the most loving, like feminine place I've ever been to, and like in a really beautiful, safe way that I wish every doctor's office had. And I love my friends are doctors, but I was like taken aback with how much they care about you.
It's not like
and like as they should. You're paying a fuck ton of money, but a lot of places don't. They treat you like you're in just another client. For them, like they call you, they check in on you. I had such a great experience with them. So like if you're interested to learn more, you should.
I personally believe that success and rejection are two sides of the same coin, and that the people who find success are the ones who use their rejection to fuel them. What's one of the most like significant rejections you've had in your life that you felt was pivotal to where you are now?
Oh my God.
Whether it's a relationship or professional or anything.
I agree with this tenfold. I just watched the Tom Brady roast. I didn't realize that he was the 6th draft pick and like literally was like.
Everyone counted him out and he was like,
and then
no,
now
you're wrong.
He's the GOAT. Like, okay.
Right.
I was like obsessed. Two things. One, when I was in high school, when I was a freshman, I dated a boy who was a junior and I was obsessed with him. And he like was really whack and like dumped me for like his ex-girlfriend. Spoiled milk, but like he went back and it wrecked me and I made a movie about it. And that movie is called Freshman and it won Best Film at my film festival in my high school. And he was actually in the program too. He didn't win shit. And changed my life. I was like, I'm going to be a filmmaker. And so I feel like, I mean, that was when I was 15, like that moment, but like really being this woman to have the agency to write, direct, produce, edit, film this film, and then be like awarded. I never won anything. Like I never won anything growing up. I was so bad at every sport. I was like, this was my thing. And to win Best Film.
You found yourself.
I found myself. So that was one. The second one was right before the pandemic. I really wanted to leave Refinery 29. I was there for 3.5 years as a producer. And I didn't know what my next step was. I went to LA. I had an interview at E! News to be a correspondent of some show. And I came in with so many thoughts and like really like I watched movies. I had so many like, and when they were like, all you need to do, like whatever you prepared, forget it. Like all you need to do is read this prompter. And you're going to be with a girl who's like also auditioning with you and is your co-host. I could not read the prompter. Like I could not, I literally was an English major, bitch. Like I literally could not read. Like I literally like suddenly could not read. The whole environment, it just wasn't for me. Like I just couldn't. And I remember just sobbing, being like, this was my one fucking opportunity to get out of Refinery and like to be on camera. And honestly, like the pandemic happened like a month later. That show got canceled. Like imagine me moving to LA, like stuck in the lockdown, like, and then I built my empire and everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like in that moment, it felt like this was my one opportunity. Like it not happening was the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's amazing because we wouldn't have you
you
currently are.
We wouldn't. I would have been working, you know what I mean? Like who even knows?
Right.
So it's like, and even with Refinery 29, like I wanted to have my own show and I busted my ass. Like I wanted to be one of the stars back then because there were a lot. And they didn't take me seriously. Like they didn't see what I could see in myself. And I was like, no one's going to believe in me as much as I believe myself. And that's why I left. And it's like, again, that was a regret. Like if you look at it, like that's why it's about reprogramming your fucking brain and being like, This isn't a rejection. This is a movement. You're a Google fucking map getting rerouted to your next destination. So if you can see it like that it doesn't necessarily have to be a positive, but maybe a neutral, like you're just getting pushed somewhere else and you're going to find out what it is. It might not be for a year, months, it might not be for a week, but like you're going somewhere else for a reason. Oh my God, it like saves you a lot of stress, anxiety, and tears, I think.
That's amazing. I feel like I just attended a sermon, like a non-denominational one.
SFK's your religion, but
Thank you.
you're welcome.
That was incredible. So where can people find you on socials before your film comes out?
Before I finish writing it. Serena Kerrigan on everything. Let'sfuckingdate.com. I brought you a card game.
Love it.
And you can play with your
Thanks for the
husband.
goodies.
Have the best sex of your life. And this was amazing. I'm so proud of you. You're born to do this. You're amazing.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.
Yay.